Okay, so here we are in Fusion 360. I had a request to show a little bit of canvas sketching and tracing. If you want to do some 3D prints, if you're a 3D printer, Fusion's a great program for it. I want to go over just how to import a canvas and how to trace it and some of the best methods of doing that. After that, you can do what you need to do with it. You can export it to Mesh Mixer or wherever you want to do your 3D sculpting. 3D sculpting in Fusion is possible, but definitely not the easiest thing I've ever done. So I am a proficient 360 user, but I am definitely not perfect. I'm always stumbling through and I'm always learning still. So follow along, pause where you need to. I'm gonna drop this down on my channel, and we'll get you guys going. So first thing we want to do is want to create a sketch. So once you have your sketch, it's going to ask you what plane you want to do it on. I prefer working top down and clicking on the plane to start it on the top down. It gives you your grid lines, it gives you everything you need to do. Now everything I do is in millimeters. I'm so sorry, but I can't measure everything in inches. I would go insane. So all the machines I work on are in millimeters and metric. So first thing you're going to want to do is I like to use the search command. So if you hit S on your keyboard, it's going to bring up your sketch shortcuts, and you can just search for canvas. So canvas comes up. I do not know the shortcut for these things. I'm sure they're out there. Somebody more proficient than me can figure them out. Click on canvas. It's going to ask you where you want to bring something in from. You can bring something in from a prior project, or you can insert from my computer. I'm going to use the Extra Life logo. I just finished up an Extra Life stream where we raised about $1,000 for children's research, so we're going to use them, and it's the only picture I have on this desktop. So, all right. So once we have it, we're going to select the face again. We're going to select the top-down view. Now, from here you can see it's rotated. We can rotate our view to positive to the right, positive up, negative and negative. So it's small. It's a small image. It's just an icon that I imported. That's not a problem at all. So once we have it where we want it, you can put this on the face of a structure or something you've already built. That's fine. So once we have it where we want it, we'll hit the enter button. It's going to kind of lock it in place. We can zoom in on it. Always do that. All right, so here's our image. Now, if you wanted to make this bigger, if it didn't import the right size, if you have a known measurement on here, you can do what's known as calibration. So if you do your drop down here with your canvases, right click. Sorry. Come on. All right, I lied to you. It worked in my demo. So we have something selected. Right click and you click calibrate. Now it's going to change your cursor and you're only going to see the canvas. So we're going to click on one side of the controller and another known point. It's going to tell you how big it thinks it is. Now it says it's 7.051982. I want it to be 25. So I'm going to type in 25 millimeters. Once I hit enter, it is going to blow this picture up to 25 millimeters across. So now if I take my distance tool, come on, inspect, measure. No, it wants to measure a line. I don't have any. So what we're going to do from here is now we have the image we want. We want to start tracing it. I personally prefer to use splines for tracing. Fit point spline is what I use. Now these are going to adapt automatically as you place more points. So pick a point where you want to start. I love starting in corners. That is just me, and just start placing points, and you can see it's going to start to flex a little bit. If your points aren't where you want them, you can always move them later. So the more points you have, the straighter things will become, the more flexible you'll be able to be with them. I've already gone too far. Let's eke that out. All right, there we go. So I typically work in straight lines on my own work, but that's the perks of what I do. So as we go, we'll be able to trace this corner. As you do your corners, more points are better. As you see, it kind of hugs the corners. And it follows the curves as we go. And once again, the more points you have, the better off you're going to be. Scroll over a little bit. So we're not going to do the whole object, obviously. I don't really want to bore you guys with an hour-long video. So we're going to continue to follow as best we can the outline that we have. So as we get into the wings here, now you'll be able to, fine tune these as we finish up. Show you how to move them around, add points, and fine tune them. But splines are great for natural curving things. You don't have to use them. That's really a preference. So the shorter ones, you gotta kind of fix something. Once again, I am not an expert. I am not even a professional. I just kind of watched a lot of YouTube. I do come from an AutoCAD background, not a 360 background. Fusion was brand new to me when I learned how to 3D print. So I'm just rough sketching this. Zoom out a little bit more. But as you can see, we're getting the general idea of the logo. Now you can get as detailed with this as you want to. I mean, I'm going to go through and I'll trace those buttons. I'm only going to do the controller, I think, and I'll show you how to do the buttons with circles. If you're like me and don't have an artistic bone in your body, borrow somebody else's art. Make sure you have all the proper copyrights, though. That's the right way to do it. Come on, straighten out. We'll have to straighten that line when we get to the end. Move that out. Like I said, as you come to the curve, sometimes the more dots is better. The more points you have, the more you can really work with it, but I'm really kind of roughing it and rushing this. We'll finish up, we'll knock out this feather, or winglet, I don't know what you call this thing. The longer you go, the straighter they go, but the more they move as you add the next point. So this is definitely only one method of getting lines down and getting things. Like I said, what I recommend people do is they make your solid bodies here and then export them out to any other file, whether you're using SolidWorks. If you're doing SolidWorks, just do this in there. But you want to throw it in Mesh Mixer, you throw it in Mesh Mixer, and all right, let's join on our thing here. All right, so You see it added all these little marks that these are things that we can tune. The black marks are the marks we put down. The green marks will allow us to adjust the spline. So let's get our hand tool back. We want just our arrow keys. Now we can move and pivot any of these we want. I want to stretch things out. I can stretch things out. There's one over here I messed up. Yeah, this one here. So we can move that. Come on. That's the whole solid. Click on the line. You can find the appropriate pivot tool and it'll adjust the camber of the line. Highlight it for you. My dog is barking in the background because he's obnoxious. So you just play with it and get it to where you want it. In this case, I think the best option would be to move it down. Kind of split the difference there. So now from here, I have a whole solid object. Now I can select this object, right click, press push pull, give you a better perspective. You can rotate this. Now you can do this manually and make it a 3D object, or go into negative space if you want to. It's really a matter of perspective. Now, once you have your 3D object, as you can see, we get everything we traced. And it's a little weird. It's a little weird up in this corner. I didn't get that perfect. Down here looks fantastic. And we have different surfaces now that we can modify if we want to. Now I could go back in and I can just delete this out and I can go ahead and trace everything out. But now I need to get the holes for, if I want to do holes for the buttons, and come over here to my hole tool. Or make another sketch. We'll make a sketch on top. And this time we're going to trace with lines. Let's trace the D-pad here. And it's just a simple point click, point click. Just trace it as best we can. If you find the body is in the way, go ahead and go to your drop down, turn that off. Now the engineer in me likes to do things symmetrically, but I'm just gonna trace this as an artist rendition. I'm sure it's not perfectly symmetrical, and I know mine won't be. All right, so let's turn our body back on now that we have our sketch. Positively, go to push pull. This time let's go into negative. Let's do -5. I don't know how deep that is. I'll make a straight up hole in our, yeah, it makes a straight up hole in our controller, which is kind of what I wanted. The hole tool here. We can drill holes wherever we want, but we don't want to do that. So we're going to go back to our sketch. Sketch number 2 is the one we worked on up here. Let's go to click. We're going to edit the sketch. Edit sketch. There we go. Take our little hole tool, find the about center, and make the hole the size you want. Now we can repeat that for all of them. Like I said, I'm just guessing this is for demonstration purposes only. All right, so that's all the holes we need. We'll solidify that. We're going to control click all 4 of these, right click, press pull, -5. And now here we go. I turn my canvas off. A different perspective of it. We have made a solid version of this controller with wings, with its holes. Now we don't have to necessarily leave these as holes if we don't want to. Turn sketches back on. Let's go back to our top view. I like working in top view. Some people do not. Let's go back to our push pull. Let's Control Z. All right, so we're solid again. We're still solid. If you didn't want to go all the way down, you don't have to. You can select all of our items on this sketch. And we can push pull. Let's go down -1 if we just want to recess them a little bit. Even though I didn't think I made that big. Yeah, there we go. So there you go. So now we have indented buttons. Let's turn our canvas off. And that's what we got. So that's just a quick little demonstration on tracing and sketching. You can do line tools. You can use circles. Yeah, by all means, explore the software. It's free. And when your subscription runs out, it's still free because you just have to renew it. It's free to renew. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff to do here, and people make ridiculous stuff. For us hobbyists in the 3D printing world, we don't need all this power, but it's nice to have. So explore it, have fun with it, play with it, and I guess hit me up in the comments if you have questions. I'll definitely try to answer them. Thanks so much.